Okay guys, so I welcome you all to today's tutorial. So we are cruising, and this is going to be the last video in this series, which started with an introductory class in workshop technology, mechanical component. Then we have looked at 5 practice questions specifically on chapter 1, which is workshop safety. So if you guys haven't watched the introductory class, which explained all the concepts on workshop safety, be sure to check it out before you start looking at the practice questions. So after having understood that class and going through all these questions we have been going through, you should be able to face the exam and answer any question on workshop safety. So like I said, this is a very easy course. It's actually one of the courses you can aim to try and get an A plus in. So stick with me, and hopefully you'll be able to get that A plus in this course. So without wasting much of the time, let's quickly begin looking at this question. So it says, with your knowledge of the working environment of designers, state if the following statements are true or false. Okay, so when you look at the first statement, a designer can work productively in a cold room below 16 degrees Celsius. So for this question and some of the question, and it goes on to say, however, should avoid working in rooms above 26 degrees Celsius. So quite right, the standard room temperature is between, I don't know, somewhere 25 degrees or 26 degrees Celsius. But then the only challenge is, if the temperature is below 16 degrees, that's normally considered a hazard and it's not a safe working condition. So you just have to use your brain and some of the knowledge you have to answer questions like this. They are normally very tricky, but this particular question is very much false, because below 16 degrees it's very cold and it's uncomfortable for someone to work below 16 degrees. So we go for false. The number 2, humidity is an element that affects all employees and cannot be controlled because it is just a weather condition. So those of you that took geography, you know that humidity basically refers to the amount of moisture content in the atmosphere. So with modern engineering technology, they are able to maintain and control the amount of moisture content in the atmosphere. So you find that most modern buildings will actually have what are known as HVAC systems. Those under mechanical engineering will be able to tell you more about HVAC systems. So this statement is false, because humidity can be controlled using this HVAC system. In most modern offices, you find that they normally deploy the system. So to say that humidity cannot be controlled is a false statement. Yeah, the number 3, clustering of computers together can generate unnecessary heat. Yeah, so if you have a laptop or a computer, or you play some video games on your laptop or computer, you notice that a computer does generate some heat once it's working, because of the mechanical components which are found inside of the computer. When the disk is running or hard drive is doing whatever it is doing, it normally generates some heat. So now imagine, if one computer can generate that amount of heat, what if you had a lot of computers? It should be able to generate some amount of heat. So this statement is true. Stuffy work areas can be avoided through adequate ventilation. So this is testing you on the concept of ventilation, which we did look at under chapter 1. It was a subsection. So it did say ventilation is basically the provision of air into an enclosed building. It can either be mechanical or natural. So this word stuffy basically means where you feel like I don't know if you can say hot, but you just feel like there's not enough air. So ventilation quite right to help you provide that moisture and air content in the room. So you just have to know what ventilation is. Remember, we defined ventilation under chapter 1. We said it's the provision of air into an enclosed room. Those air vents, windows, and those are classical examples of ventilation. So this statement is true if you understand what ventilation is. So number 5, it says non-smoking areas are increasing in the workplace because more people are smoking. This statement is false. The reason being why non-smoking areas are increasing is with recent studies, it has been found that passive smoking is actually much more harmful than the actual person who's smoking it. And in a layman's language, for you guys to understand, it's much more dangerous to stand next to someone smoking than the person themselves smoking. Because when you smoke, if you have ever smoked before, if you've seen someone smoking, they normally put the cigarette on their mouth, and then they suck the cigarette to try and have the smoke enter their stomach and their lungs and stuff like that. So you find that normally there's a purification process which occurs before the smoke can enter the lungs, because in the throat there you find that some dust particles, some harmful chemical substances can be trapped along the trachea, because that's the whole point of it passing through the mouth, the trachea, before it reaches the lung there. And it diffuses into the lungs. But then for someone who's passively smoking, you are intaking that smoke through your nose, and then if you intake the smoke through the nose, it goes directly to the lungs without diffusing anywhere in the saliva or anything like that. So you find that that becomes much more harmful. So this has been a study which has been ongoing, if you ask those in the medical field. So because of that, they normally recommend where there are a lot of people working in an environment that you don't smoke near others. So if you have someone smoking close to you, it's better you tell them to say go and smoke very far away, because you become a passive smoker. So if you want to learn more, try to research about passive smoking and what are the effects of passive smoking. It's even worse than someone who smokes himself. So this statement saying that it's because there are more smokers, no, the reason being has because of same passive smoking being detrimental to the human being. So this statement is false. It's a pretty much false statement. Then number 6, modern photocopiers emit high levels of ozone and are dangerous in most offices. This statement is not true. The reason being is it's just not true, because why would they allow photocopies which emit high levels of ozone to be sold in the first place? So if you go to places like the Americans, they are very much strict when it comes to products being sold on the market. There's normally some testing. So for some of these products to be sold out to society, they undergo testing. So especially if you look at some electrical appliances, there's a company which certifies those things before they are sold. When you go especially to Europe or America, so this would be incorrect to assume that they emit that. Then I don't know, but this is false. So this is false. Then number 7, high ozone levels can affect the health of workplace employees. So again, if you did have an idea about chemistry or some geography, you know what the ozone layer is. Yeah, it's a layer in the atmosphere, and it has been mainly damaged due to, okay, yeah, we were not learning about the ozone, but if you say high ozone levels can affect the health of workplace employees, yes, this is true, because it is just naturally true. So poor lighting is necessary in some offices to reduce the company's electricity bill. This statement doesn't make sense, because why would you let employees suffer because the company wants to save electricity bill? False. The number 9, offices can have too much ventilation that leads to an uncomfortable, draughty environment. Yeah, because in as much as ventilation is the introduction of air into an enclosed environment, too much of everything is not good for you. So this is true. Because imagine an office which just has windows everywhere. Yeah, it means you are not even in an office. It's like you're just outside. Because the whole purpose of a building is for you to be protected from external conditions such as direct sunlight or maybe wind. Then the last point is, an employee who is comfortable and healthy is likely to be more productive in the workplace. Do you even need to answer this? Automatically, you just have to know that this is true. Then the last question here is saying, complete the following practical task by inserting minimum PPE you would require in order to safely carry out the tasks listed. So when you're using a drill press, so some of you, especially if you're not coming from a technical school, or maybe you have no idea about workshops and you have never seen these tools, you can see such a question and just start guessing, but you need to have an idea of how these tools look like. So for that reason, I did look up some pictures for you guys so that you know before you even start answering this question. So let's look at how a drill press looks like. So this is a drill press, this one here. As you can see, this specifically is used in the wood workshop, but this is a basic example of how a drill press looks like. Yeah, so it's used in drilling mainly. So this is someone working on a drill press, but avoid what they are wearing, because our goal is to identify the hazards here and what you can wear to avoid that. So assume this was maybe a metal workpiece, because this is a mechanical workshop technology. We mostly deal with metals rather than wood, but however, this is how a drill press looks like. So now the question is, what is the minimum PPE required? So even if it's a wood workshop drill press, you should know that there are some particles which are going to be flying out from here, and they can injure your eyes. So in that case, you're looking at the safety goggles. Must wear safety goggles. So let's go to number 2, using a cordless drill. So like I said, some of you have no idea of how these things look like, and this is why I'm looking up some pictures to help you understand. So when you look at a cordless drill, this is how a cordless drill looks like. It's also used for the purpose of drilling, but this particular one is used in a wood workshop technology. Yeah, but even if it's not in a wood workshop, you can even see something similar to in a mechanical workshop. So but basically it's almost the same thing. You can see some particles flying out, and worse off, imagine if this was a metal piece, the particles would be flying out at a very high speed, and they can greatly harm your eyes because of that. So same thing, you need to have safety goggles. Then last but not the least, using an angle grinder. So an angle grinder looks like this. So this is an angle grinder. Yeah, so luckily this is the one which you normally find in metal workshop. So as you can see, I think this is the best picture you can find on the internet, simply because the person operating this angle grinder is already wearing the correct PPE. So the minimum required PPE, because of the splashes which are being produced there, would be, first and foremost, starting with the safety glasses, protect the eyes, safety glasses. And then number 2, you would need the hearing protection, because you produce a lot of noise. Then lastly, you might need some gloves. As you can see, that person is wearing some leather gloves. And in chapter 1, I did mention to say there are 3 kinds of gloves. You can have latex, rubber, as well as leather gloves. And I also mentioned to you guys, say it mainly depends on the working condition of where you're using those gloves. So if there's a high temperature, then you're most likely to use leather gloves, because they're not going to melt. As you can see, this person is wearing leather gloves. But latex gloves, maybe if you're trying to protect yourself from some harmful chemicals. Yeah, and rubber gloves. So this has been the last video in this series of chapter 1, and with that we can conclude to say we have completed chapter 1 in workshop technology, and we have answered most of the typical exam type of questions which are expected to answer. So of course you can look for more questions either on Google or anything. They say practice makes perfect. So you guys make sure that you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Yeah, see you in the next video, and thank you.